Hello, folks. How are we doing? It's another episode of Conroy Talks, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Joe from the JustJoe football channel. Massive Leeds fan. Wanted to get him on tonight, just chat all things Leeds and specifically Raphinha. How you doing, Joe? You feeling good, mate?
Yeah, good. Really, really good, mate. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm glad that we're now international breaks in the rear view. Let's get back to some proper football, man.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to talk about that as well. That was one of the topics as well. Maybe mention about the Nations League, because this week there's actually been a few exciting matches. But before we get into that, I'm also delighted to be announced by his third time on the show, Jersey Boy. How you doing, mate? You feeling good?
I'm doing very, very good. I've been celebrating the last few days of the mighty Blues winning the Nations League. I don't care if it's an irrelevant trophy, but first country in the world to win all three World Cup, Euros, and Nations League. But Nations League is a tin pot trophy. But other than that, happy to be here and be on as always and talk football and international football can get in the bin for now. Back to real football.
Yeah, as Joe says, agrees with that as well. But yeah, just straight into it then, because I know we're just going to be a quite brief hour tonight. We'll finish about right on the dot. But just straight away, Joe, because you're here, talking about Leeds, specifically a person who's been shining this week in international football, came off the bench for Brazil. I think we were 1-0 down, got 2 assists and they came back to win the game. Raphinha, the star of the moment. So initially, Joe, what's your thoughts on Raphinha, and is he Leeds' best player?
Is he our best player? That's a good question. Because
you've got quite a few good players, to be fair.
Yeah, it's hard to look past Calvin for me. But I guess it's personal preference. But it's hard to look past Calvin for me, because I think if Calvin's missing out of the side, then we go to bits. But he's obviously up there. Probably in terms of ceiling, he probably is our best player, I would say. Some might disagree, Calvin, again, but he's an exceptional player. I've seen even some my good friend Oscar say that he's the best Leeds player he's been able to see live. There was some shouts for a player that I don't say his name, but in terms of technical ability, a player that used to play for Leeds United that went to Liverpool and then to another club. Hence why I don't say his name, but I think you'll know I'm getting at the Australian. Yeah. So Raphinha is an amazing footballer. So lucky to have him for the price that we paid as well. Like, we paid 17 million for this guy. 17 million.
Outstanding bit of business.
Yeah, it's mad because Ren actually bought him the season before for the same price, so they didn't even get any upturn.
No profit,
Yeah, madness, man. It's like their director of football must be thinking, especially this week when he's done it on the international stage as well, because it just increases that exposure that little bit more. Although I guess, do you really need any more exposure than the Premier League? But I think when you start to do it on the next stages, like the international stage, it puts another feather in that cap. The next thing for Raphinha is obviously European football. And no doubt you'll what his ceiling is. He should be playing in the Champions League. And he will go to play in the Champions League for me. Of course, for sure. I mean, he was at Rennes. They were in the Champions League. He obviously decided to come to Leeds. I think he knows the exposure the Premier League has and probably thought, look, it's a sideways step. Not so much a backwards step, although he was playing in the Champions League. But Rennes, France, Liga, don't really have the same exposure as what the Premier League does, or does it really? So he's made that sideways step. But I guess his aim will be to play at the top, and it's a quick way to do that coming across to the Premier League. He's just exceptional, man. Like, he's pivotal as well to everything Leeds United do. I don't know if there's many wingers as well in the Premier League for me that can do it both going forward and backwards. Like, in terms of, for me, he's like a luxury player. But a lot of luxury players, we don't see them tracking back. We don't see them getting involved in the, at Liverpool, you might see it, because Klopp. It depends.
I think
on
for the
coach.
very, very top teams now, mate, I've said this before, systems beat individual brilliance a lot of the time. Yeah. So you need to get the top players to buy into that. So that's, as you say, that's another fair to his both. I think against when we won 3-0 at Ellen Road, he got a lot of praise. I wouldn't say it should be required, but he was basically chasing Robbo at the very last minute, going up the line, tracking him, which is fair play, mate. But as I say, I think you're right, Joe. I think top teams now, systems, if you look at a Manchester City, top players, but it's 3 seconds really get the ball back. Systems beat individual brilliance. So if you're a great player in that team, you need to work. So as I say, mate, I think that just adds to his calibre and his identity. But just before we get more into him, Jersey, what's your initial thoughts on Raphinha as well? What do you think about him as a player?
I think he's a baller. You know, Ren have got some ballers. You know, there's another player like over there, Jeremy Doku, who's another good player. And it's very good. Leeds got him very cheap. Obviously, I want him at Liverpool, but then again, because he's just moved and stuff like that, I probably see him going for 70 or so million. But I think he's a really, really good player. You know, he might have had a bad game versus, you know, United, but everyone had a bad game against United. So, you know, all the other games he's really, really shined. I think he just needs to be given more of a chance to be fed the ball a few more times on the right hand side. He looks very dangerous to me. And I think he's a very, very good player. But I think for other teams to buy him now, he's going to be expensive.
No, that just before we get into the price, because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask yourself, Joe. What do you think his best position is? I know he's adaptable. I'm not saying it's not putting him in a box, but what do you think his best position is? I
would say it's off the right. Definitely off the right. And, you know, you made the point off air about him coming central, which he is good in that area as well, but it's always coming in from the right, if that makes sense. Like when we bought Dan James, a lot of people came to the presumption that maybe Raphinha would play central. You would have maybe Dan James on the right, Harrison
or something,
Harrison on the left, Dan James on the right. But, you know, a lot of people cited comments made by Bielsa a couple of weeks prior to the signing of Dan James saying how he does believe Raphinha could play central, but a lot of it is it comes from the right. Do you know what I mean? And he's great at cutting in. He can pick a pass as well from that position. Him and Rodrigo, when they get going, they have that telepathy, man. It's exceptional to see. But I think for me, it is best coming from the right. We do see him switch wings from time to time, but for me, it's coming from the right, getting to the byline, getting cutbacks if we can. But he can just beat a man at will as well. I don't know if you remember the clip last season, what he did to Gary Cahill when he basically ended his career. I don't know if you've...
I've seen that one, yeah. Yeah,
it's a beauty. So for me, it'd be off the right, mate. Just because of what he does going backwards as well. You would lose that, I guess, if he was to play central. As that his position.
Yeah, no, that's a fair enough point. I think you discussed that as well. And I'm not going to get into what big teams are after him because it's about looking at him. But as I say, for example, Liverpool are looking at him. For me, I think Raphinha's a great signing because you've got the option of having him on the right, but you've also got that adaptability. He can play as an 8 as well. And it, to me, seems very intelligent, Raphinha. And what I mean by that is some players are great at doing a role, but they might not understand, they might not have amazing football intelligence. Whereas I think Raphinha, I just do think he just sees things. I think he's an exceptional player. And even you talk about what he's doing at international football and he's getting recognised for that right now as well. He's only 24 as well. He's still, I'm not saying he's young, because football nowadays, you've got people who are 19, 20, and they're not even considered young players anymore. They're established. But I do feel like, as Jersey said, for the money he would cost for a top team, I actually think 70 is still... Bargain's the wrong word, but I feel like you're going to get your money's worth. No issue with that, because what he can do for the team in either positions is an 8 or on the right-hand side. But what I was going to ask, Joe, then, so you see the right-hand side is his best position. What do you value him as a Leeds fan? What would you value Raphinha right now, money-wise?
It's hard, isn't it, man?
And value to Leeds, I don't even mean transfer market, the world. Just what do you value him at, and what would be acceptable price for you to sell him if you were going to?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I don't know if you should, but I want to give an example. So Ismail Assar, he's a great player. I think they paid 35 million for him, Watford. I seen this the other day.
Yeah, I
Crazy
think
money.
it's 30, 35, I think you're right, 30, because
Yeah.
they were looking to sell him for 40, 45, weren't they?
This is what I'm saying. So I think a lot of what becomes acceptable to Leeds United fans for me is because of what we paid for him. So say like if we'd have paid 35 million for him and he's better than Sarr, and you could accept that as a price. But then if you were to move him on, you'd want a lot more than that. Whereas I think Leeds United, because we paid so little for him, as a fan, I'm like, oh, well, you probably could
I think that's
accept
a
a little
factor.
bit less because you're like, well, we've still, got 3-4 times our money. Do you know what I mean? And I think that does, it shouldn't, but it sort of comes into the psyche a little bit because I'm like, well, we did only pay 17 for him. So we're still going to get, a big markup on him.
A big selling value, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I do. What's he worth now? You'd want over 50, right? You'd want at least.
Mate, straight away, I think a standard price. I think 50's quite a bargain for him. I honestly see that. It's maybe looking at the inflation of the market, but 60 for me. I know Jersey wanting to add to this. He said 70, and to be perfectly honest, for his age and what he brings to a team, I can understand that completely. You look at certain players and what they're worth. Now it is the English tax, as I would say, but if you look at a player like what is people are quoting Madison to Arsenal, what was that roughly? Do you remember? Was that 50? Were they saying 50,
Yeah,
60, something like that?
Between 50 and 70, I think.
Yeah, something like that, right? You've got Raphinha, who's currently in form. Probably you'd say his assists have not been the same this year, but his goal scoring ability's definitely been there, and he's played well. I'm not saying he's not created any chances.
No,
he's played very well. I think KT's ad as well. It's 60 to 70 mil, and I would agree with that. And Joe, I actually think as a Leeds fan, I really think you should, because I do think, I'm not just talking about Liverpool. I think there's a few teams who would pay that money for him, especially with his age, and I would easily say a fee between that would be in the market. That's what I see him as. KT also added, he reminds of a kind of Di Maria player. I think that's a really, really good shout. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Yeah, no, it's a definite shout, mate, from KT, and I suppose you're right. In terms of the figure as well. I just think for my own, I'm like, what would I accept? Anything over 50. Because of the fact we only paid 17 million. But I
didn't even realise that, man. Before I came on the show, I thought it was about 21, 23, no, 17. Seeing this day and age, mate, that's it. It's not quite Demarai Gray levels of bargain, but it's still pretty bloody good, mate.
It's insane, isn't it? Yeah.
No, it's great. Jersey, any last thoughts on Raphinha's price? Anything to add to that? You say between 60, 70. Do you kind of agree with that?
The reason I'm saying that is because he can play a lot of positions. A lot of clubs are looking interested in him because of how he's playing. He hasn't been at Leeds for that long. And, I find with the Premier League, we like to move levels in terms of pricing. So that's why I'm going 70. I think you'll be 70, let's say maximum £72 million. That's what I think. 72 million to 2 million. And between that, I think is how much you would sell for.
And do you think that's? I agree absolutely. Jersey is the same. I would not be surprised if that even went to 75. But Joe, on that, see on the player, do you think Leeds, the way you ran, you're quite confident you would find a replacement? I'm not saying the next Raphinha, but someone who'll fit your system. Are you quite confident the way the club's ran that you would find that in your scouting network?
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing I will say about Victor Orta. They're always looking at what's next. We have so many talented players within the youth setup right now, just currently. The likes of Joe Geldart, who's ripping it up. Scored a couple of goals against Liverpool, to be fair.
Yeah, no, 23. I remember you saying.
Some absolute screamers. Sam Greenwood. We've got another kid, Archie Gray, nephew of Eddie Gray. He's been ripping it up. So there is, like, Leeds United, the way we run now is it's like chalk and cheese to what it used to be like, and whether we have someone, like you say, ready to step in. But I think the key thing, Conroy, is Leeds United and the ownership. Rad Razani said they want to follow the Leicester model, and the Leicester model is, bringing in a Kante, bringing in a Maguire, bringing in a Mahrez, selling them for, massive markup. And Leeds United are looking to do the same. There's talks like of Calvin getting a new deal after Christmas. That's to protect that asset. Because
would you say he's your most valuable player, Calvin Phillips?
I would say so, yeah. Just because of
where he's from, what he brings
English tax. I look as well, and you guys might not agree because Liverpool fans have disagreed with me in the past, like Grizz, for example, and I think even Gav as well. Like, I see him as being a replacement for Henderson. I don't think they agreed, but I see Liverpool maybe looking at a Calvin in a couple of seasons. I think Man City look at a Calvin in a couple of seasons. I think maybe Declan Rice, maybe Manchester United, Chelsea, but I think there will come a time when these players move on, and I think Calvin, that's why we're getting him on that new deal. It's all about protecting that asset.
Protecting the asset, yeah.
A bit like Villa did with Grealish. I'm not saying they'll go for 100 million, but I think in terms of value, what we could ask for Calvin would be more than what we could ask for Raphinha, I think, anyway. And
I feel like he will, in a couple of years, more experience in the Premier League, he's hopefully stay in as well.
Yeah,
I think he will. That will improve him as a player as well. I would say Phillips maybe needs just 1 or 2 more seasons. Maybe
that's fair, And if that's at Leeds, Conroy, I'm buzzing with that.
I'm not saying like he's, but I just think there's certain things he just has to. He needs experience to improve on that. Don't get me wrong. I think as a player, I think the best thing for him would be to stay anyway for a couple of years. I'd say maybe 2 more years at least, possibly 3. And then, what age is Phillips right now anyway?
Oh, mate, off top of my head.
He's quite young. I know he's quite young because I remember watching that documentary, and back then he was quite young.
He's older than Declan though. I know that much. But it's like with Declan Rice, yeah. It's like he's 25, is Calvin. With Declan, he's sort of took that next step with getting West Ham into Europe. So if Calvin can stay at Leeds and get us into Europe, then when he does move on, we're in a position where we can attract better players. The thing is with Calvin, though, it's such a specialised position. They're not a dime a dozen. We've seen at Leeds United, whenever he's injured or he's out of the side, we struggle massively. So to find another Calvin's a lot tougher than finding a Raphinha. And I know, but you get what I'm saying in terms of like wingers
on the spectrum of it, because you could get a player who's like a Raphinha who might not be as class as Raphinha, but he still might be, not saying the same player, but he adds to the system. They say I do understand that to a certain extent. However, you might say that Raphinha might surpass all expectations and just hit another level, but we can't foresee that. But Finners was just saying he's 28 in 3 years. I would still say though, I think 1 or 2 more years that Leeds, Calvin Phillips will be 26, 27. Then I feel like that. There's a reason I don't think many teams were looking to sign him in the summer. I feel like he does need a few more years for the level he's going to go at, because he's not going to leave Leeds as a sideways step to another team, because that's his team. If he's going to leave Leeds, it's going to be to a top 6 side, But no, as I say, I mean, the last question on Raphinha, folks, and then we can move to the next topic, because I want to just stick with both of you this. I'll start with Jersey and I'll finish with you, Joe, on Raphinha. Jersey, what do you think the level Raphinha can get to? What do you think his ceiling actually is? You're on mute, I think, Jersey, mate.
I think ceiling is winning Champions Leagues, winning Premier Leagues. I think he's going to go bits, but that for me, like I see Leeds in 10 years' time, no matter that, winning lots of trophies. I think that you can get there, Joe, but I just think that a lot of players will not wait. So I think Raphinha will go to a club, win Champions League and Premier League, and I think he will win titles. But that depends who it is, because City could go for him, United could go for him, even though they've got loads of right wingers. I don't know what will happen with Raphinha, but I think he's got the levels to go there.
To go there. And what about yourself, Joe? Where do you think he would get to? And sorry, Jersey, just before Jersey, what team do you think he'll actually end up at? Jersey first, and then I'll ask you, Joe.
I don't think Liverpool, because we're skint and we have no money. So
they say.
I'm going to go surprising. I'm going to go Man City, because Mahrez is getting old, right? Sterling is useless.
Sterling's not useless.
I love Sterling.
Got 95 Premier League goals,
City,
mate.
For England, he's good, but I mean, he's moving on. They haven't got really. They're playing Ferran Torres as striker. I don't know. They've got Grealish now. They might go in January going or
It
another.
depends if Raphinha's maybe here. He's at Leeds for another 2 years, or it's a hard one. I get what you're saying, Jersey. Maybe Mahrez leaving. You might be if Sterling and Mahrez go. They might look at it this summer. I do hear what you're saying.
United, I don't see them because they've got Greenwood and they've got Sancho.
And I think
on the
a
right
CDM would be next, as Joe said from Man United. A CDM could be next on their radar.
What Jamie says, Newcastle have 320 billion net worth. I can tell they could go for him. There's no joke, right? There's rumours on tonight by a very reliable Spanish source that Newcastle want Werner. But this January window for Newcastle.
But you need to remember, it's like it's not like a click of the fingers. We're not going to get into Newcastle right away, but you have to be smart. Like, you have to buy signings who's going to keep them up initially, right?
They need to go for Lingard, in my opinion. Go for Lingard.
That would be a good signing, right? Look what he done West Ham last season, Jerry. That's a great shout.
These players as well, Conroy will say, come back to me in a couple of seasons. Werner's not leaving Chelsea Champions League to go to Newcastle.
No, I don't think he's going. But it was
I would even say Raphinha right now. Listen, obviously there's a lot more potential in Newcastle in the next couple of years, but right now, like, there's so much precedent to say it doesn't work straight away. The quickest team to do it was Chelsea, and it still took Chelsea a couple of years because I think when Gronker scored that goal, got the Champions League. I think Ranieri came in straight away. It's still done quite well, but I would say Chelsea still had. I think Mourinho is own a lot for when Mourinho came in and when they beat Alex Ferguson that season, Luke Johnson, the amount of new players in that team. That doesn't really happen very often. Look at City. City have been spent quite well, and it took them a long time to even win the trophy. They won the FA Cup against Stoke, and they at times they put the Robinhos in. It doesn't always work out. So it's a hard one. Where do you think Raphinha will end up? Do you think it will be Premier League, or do you think it might be abroad? Maybe
he could go abroad. He could go abroad, definitely, for sure. I think my man Oscar.
Barcelona is a good option.
My man Oscar said Real Madrid a couple of times. To be honest, he's stuck his neck out there and said that a couple of times.
That would kind of work, yeah. I could see that. I could see Barca in the sense of just because how adaptable he is in the sense
they're rebuilding as well.
But do you want to go to Barcelona right now? Probably not.
No,
Madrid's a better shit.
No one wants to go to Barcelona.
I think his ceiling's champion. It's winning trophies. It's Champions League. That's his ceiling, isn't it? It's Champions League. There was a period of time where I was really worried that he could end up at Manchester United, just because he's like best mates with Bruno Fernandes, and sometimes that can have a bearing on it. And then he did an interview when Liverpool were linked in the summer. That was just lazy. He was never leaving Leeds United at that time. But he did an interview, and he's very good mates with Firmino and Alisson, and he knows these, and he'll know them even more
contingent,
now. He'll know them even more now. Actually, getting the call up and being in that group. But like you say, is there space for him at Liverpool? Probably is in terms of better squad depth, but again, Liverpool, they don't spend cash money like some of the other clubs and have a bit of dross sometimes on the bench in comparison to the other top teams. Would Raphinha be happy to go sit on a bench somewhere? I'm not sure. I don't see where he fits in the top 6 sides currently. Obviously, he's not got Spurs. He's not got an Arsenal. So you're looking at the top 4, aren't you? Man United don't really need him. They can't be bringing him in because they've already got players there that they're having to square pegs and round holes. I can't see that. PSG that's a good shout from Jamie.
That's a good shout, Jamie, mate.
Yeah.
Good shout, mate.
City, I don't know, maybe Mahrez. Does he go off the boil? Does he move him on? Maybe. And he's not going to Chelsea, is he? He's not. I just can't say. I don't know. And that's music to my ears, to be honest, because I don't see where he fits currently, Conroy. I don't know if you disagree. Does he fit anywhere?
No, I do agree. The only one I would say, right, 100% is like who he fits, but we might not get him. I'm not even being biased, right? I do think Liverpool makes sense because he's very adaptable.
Yeah.
He plays at 8, could offer support kind of Salah's side, and then the front three are aging a little bit as well. So I actually see Liverpool being a great fit and a realistic fit, but it's just the fun.
Cost.
However, the one thing I would say is Raphinha, to me, with his age, there's an argument that FSG might consider that because of he's only 24, 25. And if they could get, as you said, with the sell-on value from the 17 million, if you could get him for 50 mil, is an absolute bargain. But as Jersey will disagree that that probably won't happen. But when it comes to fit, I could see him being at Liverpool. However, realistically, I actually think PSG is a very, very good shout. So
Messi's got 2 years, so Di Maria is getting old and stuff.
Di Maria, that's a good shout.
All their players are like going to nearly 30s now.
He's been in France. He's played in France at Rennes. He could easily go back there for sure. But as long as when he does move on, as long as we get his value, and the club will make sure that we get the right money for it, and then we just reinvest that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kev just added the blocks are out for Cade Gordon, no sign to Salah slowing down. What I would say, Kev, is I think Raphinha can play in a few positions as well, and I don't think we can't look at it that Salah's maybe not slowing down. Of course not. It's not to replace, but it's add to more to the team. And I definitely think there's ability to have a front three who switch up and are fluid that would work. I'd also say I get what you're saying with the Cade Gordon thing, but I'm not looking that far ahead yet for a youngster. I feel like you need the players in the league who make the team stronger. Who make the team stronger. And fair enough point, that's your opinion, Kev. But I would say Raphinha's very adaptable. It's like you could see him playing on either wing on number 8. I think he's very, very good.
He could also play kind of like a Firmino Jota if needed.
He seems to be. He could be that intelligent to play a false 9 as well.
But
sorry, what are you going to say, Jersey, mate?
I was going to say I think this is 99.99999% impossible. But let's say hypothetically Liverpool were trying to get a winger or something in the January, because we were, from what Fabrizio Romano said, we were looking to get one in summer, but we didn't find what we wanted. So let's say they 50 something million for Raphinha, right? We've got 40 million from sales from the summer. I just realised we've got about 45 million from sales from the summer. So I personally think Raphinha will leave Leeds till 2023. That's my opinion.
Fair enough, mate. It's an interesting one. But I think it's been just Kev's ad. He's a cracking player for sure, but I don't see us going that big on someone who isn't a main starter. Possibly, mate.
Does make a good point.
But in a year's time, 2 years' time, our front three can't possibly remain the same. Come on, that's just realism. So you got to think about that as well. But I do get what you're saying, but this time next year or next January, that might change as well. But listen, we're not going to get too much Liverpool on it. Joe, I think your opinions have been solid and been brilliant on Raphinha, and I really enjoyed that chat. If he's got anything he's want to add to Raphinha, he's quite happy with that. That was a really, really informative chat, mate.
Oh, just watch. We've got some favourable games coming up, so if you've got an FPL team, get him in there.
Mate, he's been in mine since the start of the
Joe,
season.
who are you guys playing?
We've got Southampton at the weekend, mate. Wolves, Norwich, then Leicester.
Yeah, that's 4 wins out of 4, because I think Leicester.
Oh, I'd take that, mate. I'd take that all day.
Leicester
4 wins out of 4.
Completely different.
Yeah, Leicester.
You'll be fine. It's just you're in a bit of a bad run now as well. Jamie had Liverpool are getting a damn. I'm setting off that in January.
Oh, you don't want him, do you? Can I ask you? I really think he's pants.
You go first, Jersey. What do you think of Adama Traore?
I think if Adama Traore could finish, he would be world class. But the thing is,
but that's also end product as well. It's not just shooting, it's end product.
The amount of 1v1s he has for Wolves, and he's scored most of them, he would score 20, 30 goals because the amount of chances he has. But he scores like 1 in like 50 chances. So I don't know. I honestly think, in my opinion, if Adama was under a good manager that could help him fix his finishing, he would be good. But here's something that Craig from
Kev added to that, Jersey.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I do think he's crap, and I think he's crap because he gets so many good positions and he borrows it every time. But there's another problem that I've noticed that I've been told by Craig from Manfred Agenda is the reason is he has baby oil all over his arms is to stop people grabbing onto him because his shoulders keep popping out. He keeps dislocating his shoulders. So I don't even think he's a good winger.
I'm going to add some positivity with Adama, right? I do agree he's very frustrating, and I'm not saying I want Liverpool to sign him. However, he has got moments. I watched the United game, and that is a one-off, right? But genuinely, he can actually beat people like they've never played football in their life. Like, it is ridiculous at times.
But
What I
how
would
many
say
goals
is-
did he score that game, Conroy?
No, I agree, mate.
You know what I mean?
The problem
He
is
should
with
have
me,
had a
it's-
hat
it's-
trick,
But the
man.
problem with me, it's not the shooting. I don't have a problem with that because there's lots of footballers who, especially wingers, who are shit at finishing. They can't save themselves. But their decision making, they're either good at crossing or they're good. They maybe be good at finishing, but they're not great at like decision making, or they're good at crossing, but they're you know, like they're not, they can't finish. For him, it's like I'd say every attribute he's got, it's just too far away. There's just too much work that needs done.
Yeah.
So say if he was decent, right, but his decision making was poor, but he had a not bad finish or good crossing. But I feel like a Klopp could take him in and work with him because he's not that far off it. He could get one of those attributes to be really high, really top level. But I just think there's a lot of work to do with Traore,
think,
and for the money it costs as well.
He's 25 as well, Conroy. Do you think if you ain't finishing at 25, then I don't see how you
showing signs of getting there.
Yeah.
I would say, like, you don't.
I would literally bring him in. I say, stop going to the gym, right? You're already big enough. For the next hour, stand here. They're going to pass you balls and make sure you hit the back of the net.
Or if his crossing was good, I feel like one of them, like, because there is lots of footballers who aren't great in front of goal, but they've got. As a winger, you need to have certain attributes. The problem is, Joe, you're right, mate. But see, because he's so good at beating people, right? Yeah. It's like sometimes you're just like, this guy actually makes these players look like they've never played before. But I agree. I think there's Jamie, fair enough shout, mate. I just think there's too many out there who are the same age, same price, who there's not as much work needs done. Yeah. I would say I would love to see him under a top coach just to see what you could do. But I think Nuno at Wolves, when Jimenez was playing before he got injured, that was probably the best form he's ever been in.
Remember the City game? He terrorised Man City.
Yeah, no, he did. But I feel like he was brilliant. But I'd say I just think it's the consistency levels and getting to that point is just too much work. But listen, we could be wrong. But I think notoriously 4 of us think it's maybe that way. But you know what? It's Mitchell just adding, it's not about the goals, mate, it's about the chance creation. I would add, like, if he's got something, if he's got a good finish, or he's got like assists, crossing, or chances created. But I do feel like even his decision making, Mitchell, at times can be very frustrating as well. Like, there could be a simple pass and he goes to take a man on. I just think there's so much work to be done.
Can you imagine being a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan, right? I'm a Wolves fan, yeah. We only get to see snippets. These guys have watched him week after week after week. You see him beat man after man after man after man. Yeah. Get to the byline, get in front of goal, and he makes the wrong decision. He lashes at it.
Or when it's like 3 on 3 on 3 or 2 on 2. I think those situations as well.
Ridiculous, man.
As a fan, I'd be like, do you know what I mean? It would be so frustrating because everything tea to green. It reminds me, like, I know this guy's better, but I put him in the same bracket. A lot of people disagree with me, but I think Alan St-Maximin's almost the same, right? And I know people disagree with me because he can the odd goal or whatnot. Like, I went before the Newcastle game.
I do think St. Max, though, is like, he has to do a lot himself in Newcastle.
Yeah, that's fair. I did say, now that Newcastle will be good, people will now see just how pants Alan St-Maximin is.
I don't know, mate. You can defend that hell yourself.
when he's surrounded by players that are just of same or equal level, and therefore he'll look at assaults and I says he is going to be the next Adama. Listen, I'll stick my neck out on that, but I do think it must be so frustrating because everything tee to green is beautiful, but then he gets his putter out and he misses it by a mile, and it just must be so. We've seen shades of it. It's been labelled at Dan James a little bit. I'm not saying he's anywhere close to them in terms of dribbling ability and beating players, but it got labelled at Dan James, and I was like, nah, because I don't watch him week in, week out at Manchester United. But there's a chance against Watford where he's on the edge of the box, he's got to the byline, and he's honestly, Conroy, he's passed this cross, and I'm sat like right in front, or stood right in front of where this, and it's gone right over the box towards the back, towards the for a throw-in. And I went, yo, how's that happened? Like, I still afterwards, like 5 minutes afterwards, I was saying to my mates, how has he managed to fluff that cross that bad?
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? Right, I've got to be honest. Right, I'm just going to finish on this one, and we'll talk about Dan James quickly because Kev made a really good point. Can you imagine being Jimenez? How do you time your runs off him? Is impossible. Do you know what? That is actually a credit to Jimenez. Like, if Adama Traore is that unpredictable, imagine the number 9 who's got to run around. But what I was going to say is on Dan James. I've got a more softer spot for Dan James because see for Wales, I actually think he plays pretty well.
Yeah.
He's crossing, his decision making's not great, but I understand. I think he'll be effective at Leeds. I think Bielsa will get the best of him. His crossing decision making's never been amazing, but I do think he could do well. I don't know if you agree, Jersey, or just completely writing off Dan James with Joe.
Oh, I'm not writing him off.
No, it's frustrating. He's proper. He's one of those players.
And it was the first time I seen that. I was like, whoa, like that. Like, nah, I'm with you, Conroy. I think under Bielsa he'll just get better and better, and he has been great, and he is getting better.
Absolutely. Just to add to Mitchell, no, absolutely, mate. But I feel like if you look at Adama Traore, he is quite a wasteful player and a lot of opportunities. I'm not his biggest critic. I do think sometimes he's exceptional and he's probably got ability that others don't. But Mitchell, also comment in if you think he would be a good signing for Liverpool or any team in the Premier League.
Is that what Mitchell's saying? Yeah, I was trying to make out what he meant.
I think he was just saying that, like, it's if you analyse, look at the amount of chances he creates for a team instead of just the goals and the crosses and that. When I've watched him, it's more his decision making that's made me question him. Just in certain moments, he makes the wrong decision. Like if it's maybe like a 2v2, because his pace gets him and beats him and he gets in those situations. Those are the ones where if you're at Liverpool, you need to kind of be. I mean, even our front three at times is poor decision making, and it's like they're pretty. I'd say they're a better decision making than Adama Traore, and they're still very frustrating. So I just think it wouldn't fit. But I don't know. Others might disagree. Others might agree with Jamie. I think it would be a good move.
Right, chance creation and all that sort of stuff. I can understand, right? But 7 goals in the Premier League in 3 seasons. That's not good enough. Like, that is not good enough. The simple facts. Like, he could create chances all day, but 7 goals in what I think I'm just looking here, 110 appearances for Wolves, and he's got 7 goals.
Yeah, just I know, mate. I do understand that, and I feel like sometimes it's not all about that, but I do think overall I probably have to agree with that. Just a comment there. We have just spoke about Raphinha. We spoke about it. So if you rewind it earlier, you'll see Joe broke down Raphinha's value, best position, and what team we think he was going to. It was a real good chat. So check that out earlier. Kev, you read my mind, mate. Me and Kev were on a show at 10 o'clock, but I'd have broken the bank for Jimenez, mate. Honestly, Jersey knows how much I love Jimenez. Before his injury, absolutely, obviously due to the injury, there has to be a bit of perspective. You know, he's going to look at his life and try and get back to the ability, his fitness he had, and his health. But it's really is. He's really, for me, I thought he was unbelievable, and I think he would have suited Liverpool. But it's just the way it is, just the way it's worked out. But on it, and Jamie's just Adam has the same football IQ as a 2-year-old. Yes, but you think it will happen, Jamie. So I wouldn't go that far. But I think the most player who annoyed me with IQ had to be Moreno. Moreno used to infuriate me with his decision making and challenges, lunging in 2-footed challenges in the penalty box. No, it's horrendous. The worst one Moreno done was a Norwich away, Stephen A. Smith, where he actually went in for a challenge, mistimed it, and they never got a penalty. Then 2 seconds later, he'd done the same thing. Honestly, but just on finishing on that, if we got into a bit of segment there, a bit of segue, but it was a good chat. But
Jimenez, man.
Jimenez, yeah, very special. But overall, we'll kind of move on to this next section because that was a nice wee chat there. England. We're going to start with England because we're going to end with Scotland because I'm Scottish and that's just the way it is, right? But and I don't get to celebrate. Are you
going to sing Can You Boogie for us?
No, yes, sir, I can boogie. No, I will. Do you know what? I was going to do an after-match video. I thought I ended up going out drinking, so didn't end up doing that. But what's the thoughts? Jez, I'm going to start with you. England.
Right,
What's your
so,
thoughts? England versus Hungary, 1-1. What's your thoughts on the performance?
I'll quickly go to the beginning. So obviously our first game was Andorra. We put a completely rotated side out. We played Sam Johnstone in goal. You know, we basically rotated the entire team. Played Connor Cody and all them lot, and Tammy Abraham, Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho hasn't been playing very well for United or England since, but he did get 2 assists versus Andorra. We won 5-0. Great win. The team looked very good, but again, you know, it was a very frustrated game. And again, against Hungary, I was very frustrated again because the team just didn't look up to it again. And the problem with me is, if I quickly have a look at the, let me just have a look at the Andorra. So against Andorra, we played Abraham, Sancho, Saka, Foden, Ward-Prowse, Lingard, Chilwell, Connor Cody, Stones, Trippier. So completely rotated side. The first game, I thought England played very well. Sam Johnstone got a beautiful assist. Grealish got a beautiful goal. But for me, against Hungary, the huge problem with Hungary is England is too negative. They're just too negative. I'm grateful that Southgate got us to the Euro finals. But again, he is too negative. This team has possibly the best attack along with France, and we're just too defensive. You know, as part of like half time or something, we go to a back 5 against Hungary. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous the way it plays.
I want to get. I'm just going to let you chat about this, Joe. What's your thoughts on that? You can just chat away on this. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with what Jay?
Forward, Gareth Southgate takes a lot of flack for the way that we go about games. But what I will say, because I was listening to the radio on the way home tonight, and they had Danny Mills on, and they were talking about this England squad and what we need and what's missing, and they were saying, you know, we need a Jorginho or a Andre Pirlo or someone who can just, you know, a Tony Cruz who's just always available, don't really have to break a sweat, just gets the ball, moves it on kind of vibe, which you could sort of understand. And so someone made the point, well, haven't we got that in Henderson? It's quite interesting, you know, with Calvin not being there, who was missed on Tuesday against Hungary, which is quite a realisation for people as to why we don't go with this 4-3-3 that everyone would prefer. You know, Calvin was missed. It was quite interesting that Henderson wasn't used as because Bellingham was not there as well. So I didn't know why he didn't go with the 4-2-3-1 that he has done previously and put Henderson and Rice there. Because I think had Bellingham been there, he'd have played alongside Rice. I do think that, and obviously if Calvin were there, he'd have definitely played alongside Rice. So I think him losing both Bellingham and Calvin has meant that he switched it up. I don't think he switches it up. I don't think he goes with a midfield 3 if they're not missing. But it's quite interesting why he didn't go with Henderson, though. That's maybe something.
Henderson did play, came on, I think, 70th minute again with Harry Kane. He came off. Harry Kane came off. Henderson came on, and Tammy Abraham came on. But for me, Ward-Prowse did absolutely amazing against Andorra, and I don't know why he didn't play.
Yeah. Do you know what though? As well, like I seen Grealish was having a really good game, and you touched on it, Jersey Boy, about, you know, and I understand why he persists with Sterling Adu. Because let's not forget, Sterling was absolutely boss in the Euros. Yeah, he was immense in the Euros. Yeah. I do think he gets unnecessary flack, and Gareth knows he can depend on him. And you know, do you take Kane off? Because he knows where the back of the net is, right? But you can't. Kane's not up to it currently. So, you know, Grealish was having a good game. He takes him off. He brings on Saka. He leaves Kane and Sterling on. Maybe it should have been different changes. But what I will say about Southgate, he's got us to two semi-finals and a final in his last 3 tournaments. What more do people want?
Yeah, no, I do
This is what
agree
I'm
with
saying,
that.
Conroy. I don't
I
understand
do
it.
agree.
What more do people want? Like, people, and I'll go back to the thing, you know, I had Danny Mills was on the radio. I can't stand that man, by the way. He used to play for my football club. I can't stand him. And he's going,
A lot of Leeds fans feel that way about Danny Mills.
yeah, because he just talks his mouth, man. He's just an idiot. But anyway, he was talking and he's going, who was in goal? I don't know. I can't remember. The golden generation, the goalkeeper. Who was it?
You had Seaman, then you had David. Well, I'm not saying David James was the golden generation, but you had David Seaman. Then you had.
So he said Seaman, and he's like, better than Pickford. Yeah, okay. Ashley Cole, better than Shaw. Yeah. He went, John Terry or Ledley King, better than Maguire. Okay, yeah. Rio Ferdinand, better than Stones. Yeah, not even a question. Gary Neville, better. And he started to do this, and he was like, Gerard Lampard, better than Rice Phillips, whoever. And you're like, right, okay, yeah. But what does it matter? Because they didn't do nothing. They never did anything. So having individual brilliance is all good, but they never did anything. I actually now, regardless of the football that's being played, feel more connection with my nation than I've ever felt due to the individuals that are within that side and the way Gareth goes about it. And I know people don't like it. I know people want to see us go and hammer these teams. And I understand it. But look, record speaks for itself. He's got us to 2 semi-finals and a final. Next stop, World Cup winners in Qatar. Watch this space. Telling you, we'll shithouse our way, Conroy. 1-0 every round. I'm telling you.
I would love it. I would love it. And I think we'll see some different players at the World Cup as well.
Do you think? Just on John Carew's comment there, do you think Kane should be?
Oh,
I think he was asking if he should be benched. What do you reckon?
No, because he's the captain and he scores goals. But I think if he's having a bad game and it's clear it's not working out, maybe you take him off. But it depends. He's on the bench.
But his form's very poor the now, Jersey, as well. He's very poor. I think Kev Sullivan will add to that. Kane, what's that stat about Kane this season? Kev will add it in the chat. It's very poor.
Conroy, Kane against Hungary had 4 tap-in chances and he put them wide.
But what I mean is, like, so say who was on the bench last night? Was
Tammy Abraham.
Tammy, right?
Tammy and Watkins were the only strikers on the bench.
But Tammy or Watkins, whatever you want to say, people might say England or whatever. Playing in England. But Abraham, shout out to Finners. Abraham's been doing bits in Italy, doing very well for Roma.
He's been
very good link-up play. Not just his goals, his link-up play has been very good. Or even Watkins, you remember he formed last season. But I'd say Abraham. Why does Abraham not get a start? How poor Kane's been. It's not like Kane's overall play's been good and he's been setting up chances. No one's undroppable. And
I think they are, though, man. I think you can't drop Harry Kane.
Well, see, I think this is the problem when you make a striker your captain, right? Because strikers don't see the full.
It's that. He comes up trumps. And he knows.
You say he came up trumps. He had an okay tournament because he's knockout football performances, which, don't get me wrong, against Germany, that's impressive. I'm not disputing that.
Conroy, if I asked you the question, who do you want a ball dropping to, regardless of form, just ability, natural ability, know where the back of the net is, where's it going to go? Who do you want that ball to drop to if you're an England fan?
No, I do get that, mate, and I do agree. Yeah. But what I'm saying is there's certain games where you don't need to play a Kane because a player who's in form, you'll create that many chances that you. That's what I'm saying. Whereas, but don't get me wrong, I don't religiously watch every England game. I'm just saying there seems to be this thing now where it's like it might be good for him to not start every game. That's all I'm saying. I understand.
I agree. Because I'll give you a good standpoint just before you move on to Scotland, mate. Like he played Patrick Bamford, rightly so. He was in form, deserved his chance. He played him against Andorra at home. It was always going to be tough to break them down. You know, you had too many players wanting to try shine. You had Lingard, Henderson, all these players that aren't currently first team players, and they were all trying to shine, and they didn't really play to Patrick's strengths. And then what happens is he makes substitution, he brings on Mount, he brings on Grealish, and it opens up. What he should have then done is left Patrick Bamford on the pitch because it was going to open up, he was going to get chances. But what he decided to do, and I agree with you completely, against Andorra, is go, right, let's bring on Grealish, Mount and Kane. And I think in them scenarios, you're right, it's like, Do we really need Kane? We're already winning 1-0.
There's certain games, you know what I mean. That's all I was trying to say. But listen, it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. Joe just mentioned it. I think Kev sums up. Kev just reads a lot of people's minds in these chats. Southgate plays effective, practical football. He knows in tournament football, clean sheets can get you further. Do you know what? I absolutely agree with that.
And we had the most clean sheets in the Euros. We had the most.
When it came to knockout football, his tactics work. You can't dispute that. And as much as we joke, right? But you got to a final, mate. I mean, how many world-class managers have managed England and not even came? You had Fabio Capello. Remember that? Numerous trophies, right? Couldn't get you anywhere near that.
I'll never forget, bro. I watched it with my kids.
There's sometimes circumstances, but I think knocking Germany out, right, in the last 16 has proved that it's not just a route, because you had to knock a big boy out, and he did.
And we did.
So he does deserve more credit. I'm not saying he's this unbelievable manager. I think he's got a bit more credit in the bank than some fans give him.
Put it this way, you wouldn't have him at club level, would you?
Yeah, no.
But international football is a bit different, isn't it? It's
exactly.
I watched I don't know if you've ever watched Under the Cosh podcast. It's really good. But Stuart Downing done one. Yeah, it's really good. Stuart Downing done one. Stuart Downing's quite an interesting character, and he was explaining that people look at Gareth Southgate and just assume because he's so soft-spoken that he can't stand up, or there's a reason he gets a lot of respect, because he even said back then, it's like Southgate, there is a respect with Southgate. I don't know how to explain it, but he does come across in a way that he is really good at getting the backing by players, and there's a reason, because if those England players, those big names, as Mitchell had said, had not backed him by now, there would be stuff coming out the camp. But let's be honest, they do tend to respect him, and he's been proved right
at club level, weren't he, as well, at like Villa and stuff, So
no, he's very, very good. I think he's doing well. He's not a world-class manager by any means, but that doesn't always matter all the time. Eventually, I think there will be someone to replace him, but I think the guy got to a Euro final. You can't sack him. That's just
2 semis and 1 final. I don't get what people
crazy.
Want. I get it. I get to win it, but come on. Before that, when we had I was just saying, the Golden Jet, we never did anything. We've got a guy now who's got 2 semis and a final. I can't ask for more.
I agree. But here's quickly what I'm going to say something. Like, there were some times where we deserved to go to the final. Like, if we look at the game, the second semi-final, which is England versus Netherlands in the Nations League, right? England had won the game just before full time, but it was offside, and we didn't qualify because of really horrible defensive mistakes by Ross Barkley and John Stones that led us to...
Yeah, Stones had a nightmare that night.
And Walker also scored an own goal. So it was a bit all over the place, that game. But like the Italy game, I thought the Italy game, he tried to go, he did the whole thing about playing Kyle Walker in the back three and stuff. And I just think he made a mistake in that final because he brought Grealish on in extra time, not in full time. And but I'm very happy with what he's done. I'm not Southgate out because of what he's done, but I just think he needs to play more attacking. The good news is for England, though, is our next 2 games is Albania at home and then San Marino away. Now, San Marino away, you could play England's under 19s and they wouldn't win 9.
You don't have to discuss it. Sam Manuski is just adding, using that logic, and Deschamps is one of the best in the world. I think what me and Joe were saying, it was just that he's not one of the best managers in the world. However, he's earned his place as the manager now because he's been effective where others haven't. That doesn't mean he's a better manager than others, but just in this current set of players and system, he is proven his worth. I think that's fair. It doesn't have to be you're crap or you're amazing. There can sometimes be an in-between, and I think international football and the way they play, it's boring right now and it doesn't always thrill England fans. However, when it gets to knockout football, the proof's in the pudding. It is effective. Got to a final. But listen, we'll let that lie. Just quickly before we move on to Scotland. 2 seconds. Before we go. World Cup predictions right now. Joe, Jersey, where England? What are they doing? This World Cup, Qatar. Where are they going to finish? They're going to win it.
And listen, I know the Scots will mock me because of it's coming home and all that sort of stuff, but genuinely, it's
coming home.
two semi-finals, 1 final. Next stop, we win the thing. I think we win. We'll go deep. We'll go deep.
Jersey,
we will go deep. Yeah, man, we're going to win it, Jersey, aren't we?
The colours. Allez, les bleus.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Jersey's half English and half French. I meant to
Yeah,
add that.
back-to-back World Cups.
So
I think France have played really good, man. You know, Karim Benzema, man. He is another level. Like I saw the goal he scored against Spain.
keeper should have saved it, but we'll not get into that. Keeper should have saved it.
Mate, he wasn't gonna keep him out though.
Mate, he got his hand to it. He needs to save that.
Mate, you know Simon's crap. But anyway,
No,
Benzema's a
he saved
baller.
it.
I think
good,
France.
Benzema.
I think France will. I think France will win it back to back. I think England will get to the last four again. But, you know, we'll have different borders. I'm hoping Ward-Prowse goes back. I think Lingard will go. I think it'll be completely different team and sort of, and I think he'll play a little bit differently. But I'm just hoping it's another good World Cup, and it depends who England get. And I've been talking about this because you see Conroy on Ryan's channel, right? Vine's my friend, and he does a lot of Liverpool stuff, and he's Jamaican, and you know the Jamaican manager is horrible. So I thought it'd be funny to get on there, but quickly because Joe needs to go. Should we do?
So England, so you think France, right? Okay, so just Sam Nuski said, let's talk about Scotland. The game versus Robbo was amazing, better than the Nation League game, in my opinion. I absolutely agree, mate. So yes sir, we can boogie. No, in all seriousness, guys, I've drank a lot the past couple of days, so I've celebrated a lot. But the way I would say it is, it's been a. Joe, just finishing up, just 2 minutes, mate. Finish this and then
don't worry, honestly, it's fine.
Right, mate. All good, mate. But on it is the Israel game. I was saying to Jersey before we came on, because I imagine you two didn't catch the games. But the way it kind of worked is really funny. I would say Scotland have not played that well. They've played maybe well for 40 minutes in those two games. First half against Israel, very poor. And then second half, they were 2-1 down. So let's be honest, guys, they kind of have to throw the kitchen sink because Scotland aren't notorious for scoring lots of goals. So they had to go for it. Played really well, pressed them well for 40 minutes and got the goal. After missing two sitters, we eventually got the goal in McTominay's chest. And if you listen to Alan McCoy's commentary, unbelievable. Just unbelievable. It's in. Amazing, mate. Amazing.
I love Alan McCoy. Alan McCoy.
Some commentator, mate. So we've done that, and then I watched the game last night, and when I say, you know that in-betweeners meme, well, that was fucking dreadful. Genuinely was horrible. Honestly, just
against the Faroe Islands.
Do you know? But to be fair, it's not an excuse. We need to be better. But the Faroe Islands actually have improved, and they're not a walkover. You still need to beat them. Of course, you need to beat them. I'm just saying they did have a good shape, but our attacking play was very poor. But thankfully, Steve Clark, you know, credit to him, he takes Fraser off when Fraser I thought was playing well. He brings Patterson on. What a cross by the young Rangers fullback. And then it's a really strange goal, guys. So basically, the defender goes to clear it. It spins off his boot, and then it hits the chest of Lyndon Dykes. But like as it's kind of coming up, and it springs off and lands in the top corner. The luckiest, very lucky. And then there was about a 3-minute VR check for it being handball. It clearly wasn't handball. That's another story. We're not going to get into that. I was just like,
it's not a handball.
It's the most un-Scottish win, Joe, because basically what happens is, see that win at the weekend, Scotland can sometimes do stuff like that. Like they'll pull something out the bag, and then they'll go away to a Georgia, a Belarus, a Faroe Islands, and they'll not capitalise. Last night they capitalised. So yeah, I was boogieing a lot, and it was unbelievable. The one at the weekend was special. I went out for about 5 hours after it, as you can imagine.
You were singing. You were singing.
Yeah, because I forgot. So we've got a WhatsApp group, Joe, right? And then basically it's 2 a.m, and I'm just like typing in capitals, "Yes, sir. I can boogie." Like I was worse than that in the past. I've just left voice notes for about 3 minutes. Sometimes.
Oh God, I remember the 0-0 against England.
Wembley,
You were screaming, man.
I know. But just on that to finish up on that, what happened is so Scotland now, Joe, just to put it in perspective, mate, Denmark have qualified. So for Scotland to get a playoff place, they need to get, basically, if they beat Moldova next game away from home, which is not going to be easy because Scotland never make it easy. they basically qualify for a World Cup spot, because the last match is against Denmark. However, I think the way it works is if they win that, even if Scotland lose against Denmark and Israel win both games, they can't catch them, because I think it's either head-to-head or goal difference. I might be wrong, but I'm sure that's the case. So it was a huge result last night, mate, as you can imagine. We've never, in my lifetime, never been to a World Cup. So
It's amazing, mate.
The playoffs still going to be hard as well, guys. If we touch wood, we get there. The playoffs is hard because it's not like it used to be. It's like 6 teams, it's 12 teams, it's 6 seeded. So if we get it, we're seeded. We play at home, and 6 unseeded. So the seeded team plays at home in a one-off knockout, and then there's a final, and then that final mixed in with the Nations League teams. That final, if you win that, so you need to win 2 other matches to get through.
Yeah, but you're second. The thing is, you're second. You're second, so I think you'll stay second.
No, but if you're second, you go in the playoffs, mate.
I didn't know that.
So second doesn't get the World Cup anymore. You have to go straight in the playoffs. I'll explain it when we get there. I'll go into more detail in it. Let's not touch wood yet. We'll go over it when I get there. But
I see. So winners of the group go through automatically. It's if anything below that. So like.
And then it mixes in with the Nations League as well. I'll explain it more when we get closer to the time.
Poland will probably get the qualifiers.
Yeah, it's a strange one, but just to finish it, lads, I'll tell you a funny story of what happened. Jersey knows. So I was watching the game with my mates. We're watching the game. To be fair, Andrew Robertson, just quickly talk about this, unbelievable captain's performance, just 2 assists. We're 1-0 down. He does a quick run, lays off John McGinn, makes it 1-1. Then straight away, Scotland concede, the most Scottish thing in the world, as usual. Second half, Andy Robertson whips a ball in for Lyndon Dykes. What a cross. The goal gets disallowed after a VAR check. It's given for not high feet because the guy was just diving. You would hate it, Joe. The guy basically, Lyndon Dykes has got there first, right? And did not touch the defender. The defenders fell on the ground and he's gave a free kick. Thankfully for VAR, it sorts it. I know there'll be a few Irish people watching. I wish they had VAR for the Henry handball. I know, guys, it still pisses me off because we were watching it. I was remembering Scotland against Italy, and we got a free kick given against us then, and then Italy scored from it. And I was like, if you had VAR, stuff like that, I think it does work. But Robbo, just captain's performance, unbelievable. And that cross as well for Lyndon Dykes. And then to win it at the end. Oh, John McGinn as well. Shout out to John McGinn. Billy Gilmore. I don't know if you've watched much of him, Joe. Billy Gilmore, by the way. See, in a couple of years, he'll be starting for Chelsea. I'm telling you right now, he'll be replacing Jorginho. Jorginho's amazing, but I just eventually, or whoever, Kante will still stay, probably a Jorginho or Kovacic. They'll sell one of them on and they'll bring Billy Gilmore. Is just, the kid is so young, and it's like the second half, he's screaming like, give me the ball. It's unbelievable. He's just so good at knowing when to play it through and keep it safe, keep it simple. Unbelievable player. And then just to finish off, folks, we're watching the game. We're going crazy, as you can imagine. I'm celebrating a goal like I'm in the stadium, like I'm on the pitch, like sliding my knees and stuff, right? So we get the last minute, and I've said to my mate, that's a little bit behind. There's like a millisecond behind. So when they're kicking the ball, you don't hear it until a second later. So he's like, all right, I'll change it. Now, this is the 92nd minute. We've just got a corner. He goes to change the channel, right? So he gets to another, goes back, refreshes it, comes back on, right? All I see is 3-2. McTominay and McCoy scored. It's McTominay! Listen, we were still going crazy, still amazing, but the odds in that happening at that moment were just, listen, who cares? We went out after it and it was amazing. And hopefully Scotland can just go against their nature and just get a result in Moldova, because
I would love you to qualify, mate. Qualify for a World Cup, man. Make it happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, Joe, it's baby steps, mate, because you need to finish second and then you've got 2 more games. So it's not going to be easy. I think I've seen some of the teams we could touch with if we get through. There's some hard teams. So we're just going to take it bit by bit, but hopefully get there. And I'd love it if we do, and I'll give a few reactions on this channel if we do. But listen, guys, I really appreciate it. I know I've went a wee bit over, Joe, but thanks again for your time, and thanks for all the comments. I have to go a wee bit earlier now because I'll need to finish up. I'm heading over to Day Trippers at 10, so I'll be on that. So check us there, along with Kev, who's in the chat. But listen, thanks everyone for the chat. Jersey, where can they find you? And have you got anything else to add?
I've got much to add. I've just got the thing. If you guys want to watch along with me and someone else, can be a bit different. I'll be live from midnight with Vinyl FC for his country, Jamaica, facing Honduras. Maybe
what a squad Jamaica have got, by the way. Now, what a squad!
They've been absolutely crap. Jamaica.
Absolutely
crap. Ryan is like depressed because
Is that tonight? Is that tonight, Jersey?
Yeah, they're playing Honduras. They've not won a single game. They've only drawn 2 games. They've been destroyed by the US and Panama, who England destroyed.
Panama did beat the US as well. To be fair,
yeah, Panama looking really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys want to watch that from on Ryan FC's channel, and you can find me on my own channel, which I haven't been active on because I've been quite busy, or the Ryan FC channel, which I kind of manage with Ryan.
Shoot, superb. And Joe, anything else you want to add, and where can they find you, mate?
Nothing further to add, mate. JustJoe football show. Pop on over there for Leeds United content. Sometimes do other watch-alongs, but I've part of them for a little bit because I've started university, so I'm a very busy guy at the minute, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah,
good for you, mate.
United content.
Yeah, uni's busy. I'm at music uni.
I've done
so
it as well. Nightmare, mate. Nightmare. Just get the coffee in, mate. The coffee, the monster energies. But listen, mate, I really appreciate you coming on. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and hopefully get you on again because there's a few other Leeds players I might want to discuss in the future as well. Specifically, we never got a chance to talk about Jack Harrison tonight, but I want to get your thoughts on maybe a few others. So I'd love for you to come on again whenever you're free, mate. But thanks very much for your time. Love that chat. And listen, guys, we'll head off now. But thanks everyone in the comments and cheers. So yeah, I'll tune in next time. But cheers, folks, and we'll see you soon. Take care.